This is an audio sample of Pregnant Out of Wedlock by Ms. Kaynell Gould from the Courageous Overcomers anthology. One of our greatest gifts as believers is the gift of identity, knowing who we are and whose we are. When we are secure, there is less likelihood of us having an identity crisis and falling to the age-old tricks of the enemy. I came from a strong religious background and served in every available capacity in my denomination from childhood. We were taught right and wrong, and I knew the difference. Not just because of what was preached from the pulpit, but what I was taught at home and through reading my Bible. I was the student in school people called on to pray, read scriptures, organize meetings, and sing. It was a joy to do this. I loved God with all my heart and knew I was called to serve Him. I always wanted a husband and a family of my own, and having a strong Christian upbringing, I did not want to be someone who slept around. So, at 18, I got engaged and married to who I thought at the time was my first love. We had 2 beautiful children during that 8.5-year marriage. It was a tumultuous one and I suffered tremendously. My esteem was virtually non-existent as my husband continued to live his life as a single man without remorse. Not understanding at the time that the problem was with him, I questioned myself. Was I not good enough or attractive enough? Could I not satisfy him? Is that why he turned to others? The relationship finally came to a head. I did not have anything left in me to give and nothing left to help me fight the emotional abuse. The Parade of the Fallen. Shortly after that, a young, good-looking, intelligent man began to show interest in me. I was taken aback initially. Did he not know I was unattractive? Why did he treat me like I was lovely and worthy of love? He whisked me off my feet. His kindness was the healing balm I had sought with my husband and never received. I felt validated. Then, against my better judgment, we became intimate, and a pregnancy ensued. After the commitment, I began to see a different side of this man. The relationship became more controlling, and I couldn't see myself continuing down another path of abuse. Now that I was pregnant, I was even more terrified of what people would think. What could I say to my mother, or the pastors, and my children? In despair, I confided in my mother, thinking she would be devastated and ashamed of me. Instead, she said, "What do you want me to do with you? Throw you away? You are not the first to fall, and you most definitely won't be the last." In her few words, my mother gave me the strength and courage to move on. By this time, I had been serving in church for several years in a leadership capacity, so I had to meet with my pastor. It was challenging, but I bore my heart to him. I was told that the church's policy was that fallen leaders had to repent in front of the congregation during the Sunday morning service. I shuddered at the thought of airing my laundry publicly but told them I would need time. I did not feel a release to do it that Sunday but would advise him when. By the end of the meeting, I was more broken than I was when I came in. My legs could not take me to the parking lot fast enough, where I melted in my car seat, awash with tears. My heart was crushed. I knew I had done wrong, but where was the compassion and the guidance I needed? Did they not see that I was crying out for help? Instead, I was to be paraded like a wounded soldier from the enemy's camp to give my last words before being shot in the village square. My phone rang as I wept inconsolably. A church sister was on the line asking me what was wrong. She had felt me in her heart. Understanding that I wasn't coherent, she told me to come to her home. I did. She embraced me, prayed with me, and listened with compassion. When her husband came home, he did the same. They cooked a meal for me and took me home. They never condoned my actions, but neither was I condemned. They promised never to leave my side, and they never did, even to the point of insisting I show up to church every Sunday. Several weeks after meeting with the pastor, I graced the platform. I felt fear and shame initially, as I looked into the sea of people staring back at me. Somehow, a boldness came over me when I took the microphone. I told the church I had fallen and repented. I asked their forgiveness and told them I did not want their pity, but their prayers. As I wrapped up my apology, the senior pastor came forward, admonishing the congregation to embrace me and show me love. He cautioned them that they were not to gossip about me or treat me poorly, as many of them would have easily found themselves in the same predicament if they were not on birth control or had an abortion. That was the first and the last time I was shown love openly by the congregation. Most of the people responded with the same attitude and mentality as the pastor I had met. More than one life saved. A lady called the church, I was told, after hearing me share on Sunday. She said she had decided to come to church one last time, then her intention was to return home to commit suicide. When she heard me speak, she told the leaders that my testimony saved her life. Had I not waited to share when I had the peace in my heart to do so, I wondered if the dear woman would still be alive. A benevolent physician in the congregation who was known for his seemingly endless compassion was also moved by what I had to say and offered his medical services to take care of me and my baby. He did so free of charge from that moment to the delivery and beyond for my postnatal care. One of the leaders of the youth group in which I served pledged support and promised to help wherever I needed it. He became an angel on earth for those times I could not drive myself around. Despite the rejection, the stares, and piercing whispers, God had strategically placed people around me to help me on the difficult journey. Now with the precious baby born, though times were hard, I was thankful that I had her and loved and treasured her just as much as her older siblings. Not long after her birth, I was alone again without my daughter's father in my life. We were a family, and we were going to make it, even though there were times I barely had food to feed them and found myself going to bed without eating, yet another night. I was grateful nonetheless as God sent people my way to help when the burden seemed heavier than I could bear alone. A ministry is birthed. Still resting in what I would call a hard place, the Lord spoke to me. He said He wanted me to share my story publicly. I immediately said no. It was too painful. How could He ask me to do such a thing? I knew, however, that I had to be obedient and pen the first of 3 stories for print in a local newspaper. In my byline, I added my telephone number. My phone rang day and night with ladies on the end of the line weeping and sharing their stories. This has been an audio sample from Courageous Overcomers Anthology. For more information on how you can secure your copy of this book, contact Ms. Gould at ladykaynell@hotmail.com or visit booksbybethel.com/courageous-overcomers.